Women do what you allow them to do. And vice versa with the women. A man gonna do what you allow him to do. And if you don't know your worth, you'll put up with that bullshit. But when you know your worth and you know you don't have to put up with it, you ain't gonna put up with it.
The girl was like, well, if I decide I want to wear a string bikini, to the beach and all that, I don't deserve to be harassed. And if you got a problem with that as my man, that's a problem. He was like, look, I'm not, you shouldn't be harassed. You're right. You shouldn't be harassed. However, they got creeps out there, period. There are creeps out there. And so you have to be mindful. He's like, I'm not worried about my woman per se. She fine and she putting it out. Okay, cool. However, they gonna have somebody that's gonna disrespect that boundary. They gonna have somebody that's gonna do something to handle because they don't have the respect.
Right.
That's who I'm looking out for. That's who I'm afraid of you attracting, right?
Right.
And stuff. And so that's real talk. Like you're going to attract the creeps with that. Woman is tight because she's nervous. It's a muscle. So if I'm nervous and I'm not comfortable, then it's going to be tight. That don't mean necessarily that it's just
preach my thumbnail, because when you're loose and like that, you want to know what we doing? We getting ready to orgasm. It's called bottoming out. We're letting that bottom drop so you can hit what we need you to hit, so we can get what we want. If you notice, every time before the orgasm, it goes loose. Pay attention. Before her orgasm, not your orgasm is tight because she's working for you. Her orgasm is loose every time. She don't squeeze during the orgasm. She squeezes after the orgasm because she's trying to stop. It's a reflex after. And I'm sorry, y'all not moving, shaking. I got my phone in my hand. That's how I teach my classes. That's how it works.
There are some decent women out there that may have kids that are able to hold it down for themselves and still be able to accept a man into their lives in a man role. So
see, the thing is, when you just say you need a woman that's holding it down by herself, this is the problem right here. In the 21st century, a lot of women, they don't want to have no damn discipline. They don't want no man to come in and tell them what to do. They don't want to follow no rules. They want to sit there and say they want a strong man. As soon as that man show up and start trying to lay down structure and foundation, they flee. Oh, you trying to boss me around. You trying to tell me what to do. All this nonsense. You want me to be submissive. I ain't no slave.
No, Rick,
all this goofy shit.
You narcissistic. That's the new word.
Yeah, that or toxic masculinity. All these other shaming tactics they got trying to do.
Well, we're dealing with polyamory. It said, is polyamory the answer for modern day relationships?
I just know it's popular right now. I don't know if it's the answer, but I know it's hella popular right now.
Well, let's look at polyamory and polygamy and the differences. Mm-hmm. Polyamory and polygamy. Polyamory definition. Polyamory is the practice of engaging in multiple sexual relationships with the consent of all people involved. Polygamy is the practice of having more than one wife or husband, but that's polyandry, when a woman had more than one husband. Marriage. Polyamory is not associated with marriage. Polygamy is associated with marriage. Religion is not associated in a religion. Polyamory is not mentioned nowhere in the scripture, nowhere in the Holy Quran, nowhere in the Bible. Strongly associated in religions. age for polyamory? This is a new concept. Polygamy is an ancient concept. Gender. Polyamory may include both homosexual and heterosexual relationships. Polygamy includes heterosexual relationships, i.e., a man with several wives or women with several husbands. This is the definition of polyamory: is the practice of having open sexual romantic relationships with more than one person at a time with the consent of all parties involved. Some describe it as consensual, ethical, and responsible non-monogamy. People who believe in polyamory reject the view of sexual and rational exclusivity are essential for long-term relationships. Instead, they believe in open relationships. Polygamy is the practice of having more than one spouse at a time. There's a main categories in polygamy. Polygamy and polyandry. Polygamy is the practice of having more than one wife, whereas polyandry is the practice of more than one husband. Monogamy, which is associated with wife, one husband, is the opposite of polygamy. Monogamy is the commonly accepted matrimonial practice in many countries. 2% of people in the world practice polygamy. 2% of people in the world practice polygamy. What they call the hold on one second. How you doing, my brother?
Hey, how you doing?
All right. What they call polygamy, the polygamy belt is here in was practiced. It says it's a common known polygamy belt in West Africa, Central Africa, where the country is estimated to have the highest polygamy prevalence in the world, being Burkina Faso, Mali, Gambia, Niger, and Nigeria. These are the places in the world. In America, polygamy, over 60,000 people practice and are engaged in a polygamous relationship. So we're gonna talk about it tonight, dealing with polygamy and polyamory. Polyamory is something that I just heard of. That was something new. I've always heard of polygamy. In Islam, being a Muslim in Islam, polygamy is practiced under certain conditions. Polygamy is practiced, and it's called a necessary evil. Polygamy is practiced when there's an imbalance in society, like you got now. You got women outnumbering the men 11-1, or 17-1 in some cases. And with polygamous relationships, it don't have majorly nothing to do with sexual relationships. It's more or less covering down for your brother that's been killed during the time of the prophet, peace be upon him. A lot of the men that died in the war establishing Islam, they died, but they left behind women and children. So the men that survived, they took charge in reference and covered down for their brother by taking care of their wives and their children, so the wives won't fall into prostitution or the children won't become orphans. So in Islam and in that sense, it's engaged. But once the society is corrected and there's a balance in society, then you move away from polygamous relationships. But polyamory is something that's a new concept that is an open relationship. David, what you thinking, man?
I've been in the polyamory lifestyle. I can't even say lifestyle because it's not a lifestyle. It's a way of loving, not a way of living.
Right.
I've been polyamorous for about 10 years now.
Okay.
And the mindset for me is mentally, I think I've been polyamorous longer than actually practicing it, because I've always felt that this like monogamy just doesn't fit for me. Like,
Right.
I don't understand why I have to only love one person, or why I can only show affection for one person. Where is this written? Why do I have to go along with what the societal standard is supposedly is?
Right. And just to add to what you're saying is that I know in Islam, in the scripture, Muslim men, they are, and this is open. This is no secret. Muslim men.
David, what's that?
Muslim
Hey,
men.
How's it going?
Muslim men can take up to 4 wives, but we're encouraged to have 1 wife. If you fear that you're not going to be equitable to those women, is to take 1 because it's better for you. Now, if you're able to have the mind or the level of maturity to deal with more than 1 woman, and you can afford 1 woman, then take up to those many wives if you feel that you can treat them equitable. Because dealing with 1 woman is a trial within itself. But when you got to have a certain mindset to deal in that type of life. And with polygamy in those countries, it is lawful. Now it's frowned upon, like in Jewish traditions. At one point, the Jews, they were allowed to have polygamous relationships. But when Rome came in and really took over that region in Palestine and all those areas, they enforced monogamy for individuals, for 1 man, 1 wife.
Yeah, a lot of people
1 man, 1 husband, 1 wife.
A lot of people don't realize that monogamy is a fairly recent trend, brought about mainly due to the shift in religious power,
right?
With Catholicism and Christianity, and just generally Aramaic religions became the power, and that became the societal standard. Like, that's not how man traditionally has lived.
Right.
So there is the religious aspect into that, well, religious history that is brought up into it, but polyamorous relationships are not necessarily a new thing. It's becoming more mainstream, it's becoming more talked about, but as far as it being new, it's always been like kind of the undercurrent counterculture, so to speak. But now you have television shows expounding upon it. You see more literature about it. You see it being talked about in the news more often. So it's being pushed to the forefront of the consciousness.
Right.
So the way that I've seen it, and I really don't understand, if you want to say lifestyle or however you want to phrase it. I understand the history behind it, and I know there may be some religious push for monogamy, but I never understood, because I'm not one that can love freely as the not the polygamy groups,
polyamory.
Polyamory, how that's supposed to flow. I mean, my love is not that fluid. And I don't feel that I'm one that conforms to anything. But for me, trying to love more than one woman, even when I was out in the streets and dealing with more than one woman at a time, it was hard for me to love them equally.
But think about it. You've been conditioned since birth to see monogamous relationships as the default. Like, everything you've consumed since you were like a baby has told you 1 man, 1 woman. Like, even like nursery rhymes, cartoons, children's shows, everything you've consumed up until you reach the age of critical thinking, you've been programmed into that. This wasn't a conscious choice. Like, I think monogamy is the way I need to go. And a lot of people don't realize this. You're never shown until you become an adult that there are other ways of living. So to say you weren't indoctrinated into monogamy is a wrong way of thinking, because ever since you were a child, you just didn't realize it.
Well, everything that I saw a lot of misuse of the monogamous relationships, meaning that there were always somebody else that was a part of the relationship, although they didn't know it. So cheating is what I'm referring to. So I was brought up in a cheating culture. So I never saw the true monogamous relationship, although the optics said it was supposed to be a monogamous relationship, but it was not. And I challenge any and everything. So to come to my own knowledge and my own thinking and my own way of what I want to be and how I want to be. So monogamy is what I chose because of how I feel and how I see things from my
But
perspective.
on the cool, I think we all at some point indulge in polyamory, because when we went through that stage where we had 3 and 4 different women at a time, juggling them, and
But it wasn't conscious or known to those women all the time, and nor were you engaged in a relationship with each
well,
other.
I mean, every now and then you ran into that one who knew you was with Sheila, but she just wanted you.
But that wasn't the thing. They weren't accepting of that other person.
Oh,
to
okay.
live and to share.
Everybody didn't know about everybody.
Right. Everybody wasn't living and sharing in the love.
Sheila knew about Sharon, but Sharon didn't know about Sheila.
This is what, like, the common misconception about polyamory is. It's like, well, back in the day, I was juggling like X amount of women. This one may have known about everybody else, but she still hang tough. That's not polyamory. That's non-ethical. That's non-ethical monogamy.
Right.
Like polyamory, there's so many different ways to do it because it falls under the ethical non-monogamous umbrella. But the bottom line is, like, everybody knows about everybody and everybody's accepting of everybody. Everybody doesn't have to be in a relationship with everybody. That's one way to do it.
Right.
So it's the way to survive in a relationship like that is to have sex, basically to have sex with no feelings.
No, that's not. No, that's
if you mess around and get feelings for one person, and the other one get feelings for that person, then if it's a male, female, those guys can get into it if one tender dick. I'm just saying it's Go ahead and elaborate on what I'm saying. Clear me up before I go deeper. I'm gonna stop.
So say in your scenario, there's one woman and she's actively in a relationship with 2 other men. That's called the open V. Like, she's the hinge in those 2 relationships. The men are not dating each other, but they know of each other. They're accepting that they're in a relationship with the same woman and they have feelings for the same woman. Like, it's not, that's the rub. You have to be completely open and honest about who you are. You have to be honest with who you are as a person. You have to know your limitations. You have to accept your limitations.
It got to be something that you think about before you. This is that shit ain't nothing to play with. Is basically what you're saying.
Right.
You have to know what the hell you get into. Like, if you finna be a dope boy, you got to know the streets before you get in the streets.
Right. Like, say me and you be in the same relationship with the same woman. I know who I am. You know who you are. I know my lane. You know your lane. I'm not going to try and one up you just to score points with this woman. You're not going to try and one up me. We both, it's accepting the fact that we both won.
So everyone has their role to this particular person and to
Right.
each other. So, you know, you may fulfill this one side of her, and the other person may fulfill this other side or need for her, and you all share in that and fulfilling those needs or those wants or those feelings for that particular where the person in the middle.
Exactly. Like there's no horse trading in polyamory relationships like there is in monogamous relationships, because in monogamy there's always that trade-off, like what do I have to give up in order to be with this person and still feel fulfilled?
Right.
Can I live without this?
Right.
Can I be this and still gain happiness from this relationship?
Right.
And that's not something that comes up very often in polyamory relationships, because you're not doing the horse trading. You're not trying to, I'm going to sacrifice this portion of myself so I can be with this person. This person recognizes like, hey, I'm this person. This person can do this for me and I can do this for them. I'm not going to ask them to go outside of this lane when I can form a relationship where I can get what I'm not getting over here with this person, and this person is totally fine with that.
Right.
And so is that how you eliminate that beast that they call jealousy? Because
Jealousy still happens, but the difference is like polyamory requires a lot of communication. It requires people to have adult conversations. It's not, you can't exist in the child space of your brain where you give they should just know answers, or you gotta pick up on context clues. You gotta have those conversations for the health of the relationships.
Right.
So
they go ahead, Jay, because I just thought about something. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
David, because what I've seen in the commonality of polyamory, I was watching the clip that Black sent me of this guy and his wife included. They brought in a woman into their life. They're in a polyamorous relationship, but the woman that he brought in their life, he was cheating with this woman initially. So the way she was brought in, he was cheating on his wife with her. So they wanted to, the wife wanted to see the woman and say, hey, if this is something you want to do, let's go ahead and bring her in. Because a lot of times that I've seen in polyamorous relationships is that the women that I've seen that deal in those relationships saying, hey, if I can't fulfill you in one space, you have this woman that can fulfill you in that space. And all of them have their roles. What I've seen is that the women, they know how to maintain and keep the house going, how to keep things moving, and they understand their role with that man. So if this woman is married to the man, the woman that has been invited in don't encroach on that marriage. They don't get in the bed together. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times they share their times, or he gonna spend his time with the other woman and not his wife. So that's the thing that I've saw. Commonality is that there's a level of understanding in polyamorous relationships that either one don't get hurt. Now we all humans, but you know you can have jealousy, you can have hurt, but it got to be, like you said, David, it got to be a serious line of communication for you, in order for you to engage in that type of life.
So would it be fair to say that you love parts of the person, the parts that you fulfill or that they fulfill in you, but it's impossible to love the whole person?
I love them as a person. I love what they can do for me. However, I'm not going to ask them to go outside of, like, I'm not going to ask them to, like, set themselves up for failure by trying to be something that they're not.
Right.
Like, I still love this person, but I recognize who they are as a person.
Right.
So
and to comment on something that Jay said, like how his scenario, that is the absolute wrong way to get into a polyamory relationship, because that is more along the lines of the woman thinking like, I need to save my marriage. I don't want to lose what I got. So in order to keep what I have, I'm going to make the sacrifice of bringing someone that I can't stand that has violated me into my circle. It's effectively the keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
Right.
That's
in this case, it was this case, not in a general sense. So let me.
Oh no, that happens
way
more. That happens way more than you think it does.
Okay, yeah. That was just in that general sense. As a whole, I don't know how polyamory works, but from what I've seen and talked to people, it got to be some level of line of communication. But she said the way it started off, it didn't start out kosher, because her husband was cheating with this woman, and she brought the woman that, you know. But go ahead, Dave.
Polyamory relationships that begin under those circumstances tend to not last very long, because you're coming in under the guise of deception to begin with. Right. So you're building on something that's already a fucked up foundation. Sorry if I curse on your podcast.
No, go ahead. No, we let it fly. We
but we man, I curse so much on this
walk. I'm the no bullshit therapist. It's part of my title. We cuss.
Right. We cuss.
But yeah, you can't come into a polyamory relationship with a bad foundation, and that's about as bad of a foundation as you can possibly get, because you're coming in like two people that are not satisfied in their relationship because cheating has already happened.
Right.
Like, they're not getting what they need from this relationship. So they're bringing in someone to effectively be a stopgap.
Right.
That's the wrong way to operate in a polyamorous space. It may build into something good along the way, but the chances of that happening are very low.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's not polyamory. That's somebody conforming to what the other person wants, or giving in, or becoming submissive to what they want, in order to save whatever their relationship.
But what if they move them in and it's an agreement?
It's still the same thing.
It starts out bad. As I said, it may grow into something good, but that's not likely to happen. Because you're starting from a place of distrust. He doesn't trust her to fulfill her needs for him. She doesn't trust this woman because she's gone behind her back to get with her husband. Nobody trusts each other starting out. So that's a very bad place to begin.
Right.
And so in the polyamory lifestyle, or whatever you want to call it, I keep saying lifestyle. So in that, you do have to trust that other person that you're in a situation with, or in those relationships with, because that's what it is, a true relationship. So each person has to have that trust and that care and that love for each other. So it's a mix. So anything outside of that would cause an issue, like it would cause in any other in a monogamous relationship.
Even with polyamory, just like monogamy, the main foundation is trust. If you don't have trust, no matter where you go from there, trust is always going to be in question. If you can't trust the person that you're supposed to be riding with, it's like, what are we doing here?
Right. Wow. Well, let me ask this: the type of polyamory, is it are you maintaining these women that do you solely maintain, or do y'all help each? How is the house in the way structure?
There are different type of polyamory relationships. There's solo poly, there's open triads, there's closed triads, there's kitchen table poly, there's parallel poly, there's relationship anarchy. So there's not one type of polyamorous relationship. like polyamory is like just an umbrella term for various types of ethical non-monogamous relationships.
Right.
So like say for like your example, like one man is holding down 2 or 3 women and they all live together. That would be considered kitchen table polyamory, because we can all sit at same kitchen table. I have my role. Girlfriend 1 has her role. Girlfriend 2 has her role. Girlfriend 3 has her role. We all live in the same house. We're all contributing to this house. We're all financially making sure everything's good. So that's kitchen table poly.
Okay.
The most popular and common polyamorous love style out there is what's called solo poly. And that would be, I'm out here solo. I'm dating girlfriend A, girlfriend B, and girlfriend C.
Right.
A, B, and C all have their own lives. They all live by themselves. And we go out on dates. We enjoy each other. We're in acknowledged relationships with each other. But my money is not the main factor in helping these women out to get what they want from me, because they have their own. So there are different types of ways you can play this.
So one of the examples or one of the storylines that I've seen on Seeking Sister Husbands, Brother Wives, or whatever it's called, is there was this one black guy. He had these 3 black women. They all went out and worked, and he stayed home. And you know, me not
Pimp.
see, me not understanding that particular lifestyle and how each person brings something to that relationship. That kind of just, the optics there weren't good for me. But listening to you explain how some of these worked, and I didn't know that there were so many different types of polyamory that existed. But um, I when I think of it, I just think of the table, the one that you referred to as
Kitchen table.
kitchen table. That's the one that I've seen, or the one that I'm most familiar with.
Yeah, that one is more played out in the mainstream that you see on the television shows like Seeking Sister Wives, Seeking Brother Husbands. They all live together. They all contribute to the household in their own way.
Right. So on the solo, I mean, isn't that more of just open dating?
Yes and no. A lot of people would call it the polyamory version of serial monogamy.
Okay. Let me ask this: how do you deal with benefactors in relationships, in polyamory relationships, that you've been with these women for years, long time, and you die? How do they benefit with death benefits? Is there, what type of agreement, or is it a danger in that type of lifestyle? And neither one of the women, or do you need a living will? Do you need a will? Going on, what's happening with that when you have to set those type of measures?
Like if you are getting into the long-term relationships with multiple partners, this is where it pays to be a person that has a good lawyer. Like you have to have paperwork written up. You have to say, hey, Sheila over here, we've been in a relationship for X amount of years. I consider her my primary partner. I want her to have X, Y, and Z. But Zara, we've been together for so long. I consider her an important part of my life, even though she's not my primary relationship. She's still important to me. I want 1, 2, and 3 to go to her. And you got to get that in writing. There's no like, well, he said I get this.
Right.
Like, because then you start running into legal problems with the state laws, and that things become hard to prove when you don't have paperwork involved.
Right. And we see a lot of instances with DMX. He had a live-in girlfriend. She had a baby by him. when she died, I think his wife that he was married to got more benefit than she didn't get anything. She had a baby by him. So that type of relationship, you know, you gotta set things in place to make sure everything's secured. Chanel, you want to? What's going on, my queen? How are you? Are you doing okay?
I am chilling as usual.
Chilling like a villain. We got our brother David.
Hey,
Aaron
David.
on and David he's engaged in the lifestyle of polyamory. It's a new concept that I've heard coming up. It was polygamy, and I've seen polygamy through the scripture, and just adding with polygamy, dealing in polygamous relationships that I've seen. We've seen kings in the scripture with concubines and wives, different things of that nature, but polygamy was a vehicle that was used for legacy, and a lot of the concubines were for pleasure. Right. But you dealing with, they had wives and they had legacy, that they had sons, and sons ruled that land, and he did that, you know, through the perpetual practice of polygamy. In America, we know that's outlawed. I think in Utah they practice that, but I don't know if it's legal in Utah. But from what I've known, that is practice. Am I correct, David? It is practiced more in Utah than in any place in the United States.
That is correct. It's not exactly legal in Utah, but it's not frowned upon. It's not frowned upon. They're not gonna sick the polyamory police on you.
Right.
Like, so they're not gonna devote time and resources to that.
Right, they got big concentration of Mormons there. That's what the Latter-day Saints and Mormons. The capital of the Latter-day Saints.
Brigham Young University.
What is Silver? What is his Silver Lake? What is it? Utah. What is the place?
Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City is the capital of that. Chanel, you want to add something to that? Do you want to ask him anything? Or
I was just flowing with what David was saying, because I'm a poly-friendly therapist, you know, poly-state therapist. So I have some clients.
I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. And they need a safe space for that, because people are judgmental, you know, and people will, you know, frown upon the lifestyle that people live. I love, first of all, and y'all say, you know, I say it all the time, that all relationships require communication and trust, right?
Right.
If you ain't communicating, you ain't gonna trust nobody.
Right.
You know, and so this relationship is no different than any other relationship. As a matter of fact, I think it might be more successful in general than a monogamous one, because like y'all talked about before, many folks is cheating. I see on the internet all the time people making, you know, memes about, oh, you always been in a polyamorous relationship, except you just didn't know it.
Like every time I see that meme, I'm like, I hate that.
I'm like, no. And I'm a big stickler for honesty. Like, whatever you walking into, you need to be honest about it. You know,
Chanel, do you think it's more people get hurt and damaged in relationships because the people are not honest and saying, hey, this is what I'm feeling. I feel, boom, Chanel, I'm not happy. And I just feel, you know, that I want to see somebody else. I want to see other people. I love you. We can be with each other, but I want to see other people. Do you think that you'll be more accepting of a man that's open and honest and saying, hey, this is what I want to do. You can do your thing. I do, as long as we don't mess the house up. How do you feel?
I wholeheartedly believe this is the thing, though. In order to do that, you have to know yourself. You have to love yourself. You have to be honest with yourself. Right. And again, we're always roped into societal standards and norms and all that stuff. And so if societal standards and norms say I'm supposed to just be with one person, and I might feel like I could be with more than one person, you know, that's that norm leaning down on me like, what are we doing? Right. Choosing, I mean, we get to choose whatever we choose.
Right.
As long as, like, you know.
The thing I got with that, especially and how you doing, Chanel?
I'm doing well, Black.
The thing I got with it is, okay, I've been watching videos and stuff on it. And what gets me is the damn married couple that brings somebody in.
See,
I ain't really, that's kind of crazy to me, because they'll say, well, we've been married 15 years, and the guy was already messing with this other woman, and then he brought her in because now the woman want to do whatever it takes to, like you said, those don't work. But now she's ready to do whatever it takes to keep her man. So now, okay, I want to meet the bitch you been fucking with. Okay, so then he bring her over there, and then she goes through with the little sexual act with the three of them. And deep down, there's going to be some damn jealousy. I don't give a shit, because at the end of the day, the human species is an emotional creature.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We're emotional by nature. Right. So unless you are programmed, like I usually always say, to fuck with no feelings, it's going to be hard to just be in a relationship, especially somebody that at one point you married. At one point you loved. At one point you didn't want no other man, woman, or nothing even touching her hand. And now you got to put up with a whole nother human being sexting that person that you once was in love with. I think if you're going to practice that, it need to be 3 or 4, 5, 6 single motherfuckers who just know we just hooking up for sex, and that's it. No strings attached. And that's the only way I can see some shit like that. We feel each other. We trust each other, but we ain't got no strings attached. But we gonna go out together. We gonna hang out together. We gonna eat together. We gonna sex together. But it ain't no strings attached. And then I do that shit for a minute. It's gonna be a phase. Then when I find this one person that I just want to kick it with, I'm gonna let all that shit go. It was fun, you know what I'm saying? Shit, I'm gonna try this for a little while. I just know that. But the point I'm making, the ones that's trying to do this shit that's married, I ain't feeling that. I don't see how that's gonna. I'm sure if I Google somewhere, quite a few of them things went south. Somebody got stabbed, cut, shot.
Here's the thing. Like, there are married couples that are successfully polyamorous with one other person or other couples that they've brought into their relationship.
Yeah, they call them unicorns or something. I heard.
That's a totally different subset of culture. That's more about swinger culture.
Get into that unicorn stuff.
Okay, so they move them in.
Like, this is the difference between swinger culture and polyamory.
Like,
swinger culture is like, say me and Miss Therapist here are a couple. Like, we've been in relationship for like 10 years, been married, everything's solid.
Yeah.
Like, sex is good, but we're thinking like, hey,
we could spice it up.
We could spice it up a little bit. Like, I've been thinking, like, we both been digging on that girl that we've been seeing in the supermarket for a minute. I think we should talk to her, see what she's about. And we both approach her. Girl is cool. We cool. We go out, have a good time, take it back to the hotel or the house, do our thing. Girl goes home the next day, and we discuss, like, is this something you want to pursue? You want to keep doing this?
Right.
Is this a one-time, like sowing the wild oats thing, or do you want to keep going? Right. And she says, I liked it. I like the energy she brings to the table, but I only want this to be a sexual relationship.
There you go.
And then we contact her, and we'd be like, hey, we loved you last night. Are you cool with this only being like a sexual relationship? She's like, yeah, I'm down with that. And that's what it is.
That's it.
That's what it is. That's a swinger thing.
Okay.
Like, a relationship thing is like, there are 2 ways you can do this in a relationship. That same girl could date us as individuals. Like, she has her own relationship with me. She has her own relationship with her.
Right.
Like, our relationships do not overlap.
Right. So when it's her time to be with the wife or the whatever, you just be like, all right, y'all holler at me next, holler at me, y'all enjoy yourself. And you just watch TV and flip the thing. LeBron James doing his thing.
Do whatever. They go out, have their date, they have their nice time, they have their relationship time. I'm off doing whatever I do. They might not even have sex at the end of the night. They be like, hey,
it's a relationship. So you could be hanging out. You could be going on dates, doing whatever.
Like it's literally a relationship. Or she could date us as a couple. Like she is in a relationship with both of us at the same time, and we are in a relationship with her.
And she shows affection to both of y'all at the same time on the same day.
Yes.
Wow.
And again, that takes a lot of communication, a lot of trust. Mm-hmm. Like everything has to be on the table. Everything has to be on Front Street for everybody to see.
It's the communication up front. Like, this is what I want this to look like. And what are the rules? What are the boundaries?
Right.
Like,
you have to set
how do
boundaries.
We want this to look? Right. Just like earlier, I heard you mention about, okay, this is my primary and this is a secondary, right? Everybody got to be okay with their position, right? Or do we have primaries and secondaries, or are both of them considered equal?
Right.
Like, there has to be a communication thing and what it is that y'all all want and agree with. Because the bottom line is, I know we've been taught and programmed this way to feel like there's one person that's supposed to fulfill all of your needs, but realistically, that's fucking impossible. One person cannot fulfill all of your needs, especially if, and for most people, they don't share the same love language.
Right. And then that's once in a lifetime.
I give acts of service, but my partner might be touchy-feely and physical touch, right? And so I have to learn how to love them in the way they want to be loved, right? And do the touchy-feely and all that, if that's not my primary or even my secondary, because, we all fall in each one of those categories, but we have our primaries and so on. At the bottom of mine is gifts. I can give a damn about a gift, right? But my partner just loves gifts, so I have to program myself to love them in the way that they want to be loved by giving them gifts, right? But that's hard for me because I don't see the value in it, right?
Right.
So if you're in a relationship such as this, you might have somebody in their relationship that's a gift giver. So boom, bam, they got their gift giver, and I ain't got to bust my ass trying to figure out, okay, how I do this gift thing because I'm acts of service,
Yeah, like you're not setting yourself up for failure,
right? And not that you can't, do those things because we do. We work things out and all that kind of stuff. If that is how you choose to live your life, but I definitely understand and would not be opposed to being in a relationship where I can get my needs met from more than one person, right? As long as there's an understanding there about what is expected. Like for me, I can't be no secondary. I need to be primary. Right?
Right.
See who you want to see?
This is my wife, but this is my secondary. You're secondary.
I need to be primary.
No, but you're secondary because he has.
What is the definition? My definition of primary might be different than somebody else's because my needs are different. Right?
There's a thing that a friend of mine coined, and it's something that I like to use. It's called the roster, like 1 through 5.
Okay.
Like number 1 is your primary partner. This is your person you may live with, that you have had the longest relationship with, like that you may have a child with, like you may commingle funds, like your life is intertwined with this person. This is like your number 1 person, your primary relationship. Number 2 would be like your secondary, like for whatever reason, they could be number 1, but there's something holding them back that prevents them from being that number 1. But they they fulfill those needs. Like they give it to you in a similar way. Like they may not do the same things as your number 1, but they make you feel the same way. Like number 3 is like, this might be my little off to the side, like see them once in a blue moon type of thing. But every time we see each other, it's love, it's fun. may have sex with each other. Everybody knows about number 3. Number 3 is cool, but we just don't interact with each other on a regular basis in order for this to be like more than what it is.
Right.
Number 4, number 5, these are people that I am talking to, not in a relationship with. They could move up the roster. There's potential there for them to move up the roster, but right now, these are just people that I'm talking to. Number 5 is like, I don't have a shot with this person unless like something super specific happens. But every time we see each other, there's a little cat and mouse there, but we don't take it further than that.
Right.
And I think it's a good if you're wanting to deal with the whole primary partner thing, I think the roster is the way to go.
But Chanel and the panel, that goes back to what I said on previous podcasts back, that every man gonna always have, if you're a real dude, real nigga, when you meet him, you not the first one. Every man gonna at least have 3 females. The one that he is his primary, that he, like he say, either have a child with, they living together, they have a financial obligation or whatever too. He gonna have that one that's fulfilling what she's not doing. And then he gonna have that other one that he can just call on whenever. She probably fixing the bologna sandwiches, laying up, she doing something extra. So he defined it as the roster, and they're like have a potential to move up. It's like you drafting, you playing your position. Like and on the cool, like you guys are saying, one person can't please. That's probably why every man that I know that's single are in some type of just not married and hiding everything, have at least 3 women. At least 3. If he a real dude, he living by himself, he's seeing 3 women. He's seeing 3. So, and then he just broke that down.
So really, the only difference is everyone knows about each other.
Everybody knows about each other.
I mean, that's
not just everybody knows. Everybody knows
in agreement.
And agreement about an agreement.
Everybody agree.
So to me, again, that's nothing more than just open relationships.
Well, open relationships is just, it's a monogamous like hall pass. Like if I'm in a relationship with somebody and I'm like, hey babe, I need a hall pass. And she's like, okay, do your thing. Just don't come home with nothing. Don't get nobody pregnant. Don't have me looking wild out here.
She wants to have a blind eye to, like, I know what's happening, but I don't want to see it. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to have no effect of it. But
the open relationship can work both ways.
But even though open relationships are ethically non-monogamous, like an open relationship is primarily and fundamentally only sexual. It's not like I'm having a whole other relationship with this person. It's literally I'm looking to get my sexual needs met outside of my relationship with the permission of my partner.
If you want to see more episodes like this, tune in every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Every third Wednesday night, check out the Hip Hop Podcast. Let's talk hip hop. We're going to talk about hip hop from back in the day, comparing the rappers, the music, the culture, all the way till today. And what's changed? What's different? So just check us out. Speak on It Podcast 2K24. We bring you more in 24. Check out me in the panel. It'll be a link at the bottom if you want to join the panel live. But check us out. We're doing what it do. DJ Black, I'm the host. I got my co-host on there. The Austin. We got No Bullshit Therapist, Chanel. Just come check us out. I'm out. Peace.